We are delighted that you've joined us for this Lunch and Learn, and I'm grateful to Tom for organizing our gathering today, and really pleased that JulieAnn Sewell is with us from the Princess Basma Center. And of course, the center has been a large part of our focus in 2020. And we have been supporting this ministry for a good many years now. And we're delighted, JulieAnn, that you're with us. I'm not sure what time it is in Jerusalem.
It is nearly sunset now. And in fact, any moment now you'll hear the cannon go off. So if you hear me jump, because it's the breaking of the fast during Ramadan each night.
Wow.
And there's a cannon not so far away which announces that, which is wonderful, but frightening.
Well, we are glad, and we'll wait for the cannon sound, and we're delighted that you're here with us today and to tell us more about the center, and hopefully we'll stay on long enough to be able to answer all the questions that we might have for you.
Do our best. Thank
Welcome.
you for the invitation. Thank you. So do you want me to just start?
Away you go.
Okay. Well, first of all, just some setting up. I'm hoping I've got a friend somewhere called Rob who might help me with the videos. Is there a Rob who's going to help me?
Sorry, I will be helping you instead.
Okay. Okay. So Rachel, you're my person. I'm watching you closely. Okay. So first of all, greetings from the Diocese of Jerusalem, from Ibrahim Faltus, who's the General Director of the Jerusalem Princess Basma Center, and from all the staff as well. And a particular big thank you on behalf of the Palestinian mums, dads, children, families, who you have sustained through your prayers and through your giving this last year, a very difficult year. So on behalf of them, a big thank you to you, and particularly the Canadian Compass Rose Society, because in the springtime this year, we were struggling, and a lovely gift came very timely, and there were big cheers from our finance director when they did. So thank you for sending that early in the spring. We really appreciated that, and it's already been spent, so thank you. And hello to Bishop Paul. Thank you for joining us too. So the Compass Rose family has been instrumental in keeping us going, not just the Canadian Compass Rose, but the worldwide Compass Rose Society. So we do thank you. You are one of our main organisations of giving, and we rely on your support hugely. Introducing myself just briefly, I've been here 1.5 years in Jerusalem. And I'm a teacher and counsellor by background. I'm not a fundraiser. So we all learn very quickly here in Jerusalem. And because there is such a critical need here, I am here to support the Jerusalem Princess Basma to reach out to its many international friends around the world. So it's a pleasure to be with you here tonight. I'm Zooming from St. George's College. Oh, so I don't know if anybody's been to St. George's College or to Jerusalem Princess Basma. So we've got some nods. Excellent. So I'm living here. I've been living here with my husband, Richard Sewell. Technology is not always our friend in Jerusalem, so please bear with us. That's why I've enlisted Rachel to show 2 of the films on her platform rather than here. So I'm hoping that the Wi-Fi will be able to sustain the PowerPoint presentation, me and Rachel's film. So we'll do our best if you can bear with us. Okay, so I'm going to start the PowerPoint, and then I've got about half an hour. Is that correct? Somebody will nod at me. Okay, so I'll keep time here. Great. First of all, happy lunch. If you're eating at the same time, please enjoy.
Just finished.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay, excellent.
Yes.
Okay, so you should see now the Jerusalem Princess Basma, the first slide, meeting challenge upon challenge. Is that right, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I saw some nods that some of you visited Jerusalem, and also the Jerusalem Princess Basma Center. So you will all know that it has been a difficult year for everybody, for us as well, but our mission has remained unchanged, which is threefold really. Essentially, it's to offer quality health services and inclusive education to children with disabilities across Palestine, and to enable them to access and participate fully within their community, to nurture hope and to have a future and a glowing future, and not one which is restricted according to their own needs. Setting the context of the mission at the Jerusalem Princess Basma, this is the map which you may know very well. So the Jerusalem base reaches out not only to East Jerusalem, but also throughout the West Bank and to Gaza. That's more difficult, more latterly. But there are clinics and partner centres which the outreach team goes to as far north as Jenin, up here, and south in Hebron, and over to Jericho. And there are other centres not represented there across the West Bank. These are small community centres who have therapists, and our outreach team goes out weekly and assesses children and advises them on protocol and on programmes and on working with parents as well. I think at this point it might be helpful, Rachel, just to show the first film if you can. I will stop sharing temporarily if that helps. Thank you.
أنا لما أكبر جاء عبالي أصير محامية. أمشي وحلو أكون يعني في إلي مكان في المجتمع.
Thank you. Okay, so there you saw Mira and Ahlam, just two of the girls. It focused on the girls particularly because we were doing a special project to reach girls with disabilities because they were underrepresented. But the picture is very similar to the boys as well. So basically there is a lot of stigma around disabilities still in the West Bank. And so the idea is to try and nurture the parents as well and to educate them in terms of not seeing disability as something which your children cannot work with. Okay, so I'm hoping you can still see my screen. We're now onto the core work. So the Child Rehabilitation Centre is the heart of the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre. And from there it offers a variety of programmes. So the outreach programme I talked about a little, which goes out into the West Bank with our medical director and a multidisciplinary team, and they assess the children in the West Bank in the different clinics and refer those with the most complex needs back to its base in Jerusalem. And from there, the children are offered an inpatient programme along with their mothers. It is usually the mothers who choose to come, and there is a mother and children's dormitory where the mothers are also given training and so psychosocial support. They meet other mothers, and so they feel empowered, we hope, and that's the evidence we get, to act as advocates for their children when they're back in the community. They are also trained and as shadow therapists, so they follow the child's program throughout those 2 weeks. And by the end, they go home with a home therapy plan, and their mother and indeed the family can then work on the exercises without the therapists there.
Oh,
The Child Development Services, that's for the local children in East Jerusalem, and they are outpatient programs from a variety of therapists, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists, psychosocial support again, social workers, hydrotherapy. Basically, each child is treated uniquely and gets their own care plan. And we also offer a clinical training program because the Jerusalem Princess Basma Center is a leading national referral program and center for child rehabilitation in Palestine. And so we get, on average, around 22 university students training in social work, psychotherapy, psychotherapy and occupational therapy to come and have placements with us. Under the same roof, we have our inclusive school. And here, 1/3 of all students on the school roll have a disability. There are a whole range of disabilities. And out of those students this year, academically, 107 of them are given treatment, a whole package at the Child Rehabilitation Centre through what's called the Student Therapy Programme. So they receive their education and their therapy under one roof. So the challenges were deep and hard even before the pandemic. They're very acute now, but before, in 2019, beginning of 2020, there were financial challenges. You will have known that the US aid was withdrawn some time ago, and this has weakened the Palestinian Authority's ability to pay their share of the costs. So the Princess Basma Center relies on 75% of costs, service costs coming in from the Palestinian Authority each year, which means they have to raise 25% of costs annually. Politically, it has always been hard working across borders, checkpoints, getting permits for families to travel. Often they are refused for various reasons. And indeed, very sadly, no children have been allowed to travel from Gaza for 2 years. So that has been a great sadness for us here. Culturally, you'll have seen a little bit in the film that there is a stigma around disability. Children are often hidden because of the shame that is sometimes felt around the child and the family, and for other children in that family and marriage prospects, etc. It's difficult for families to be accepted within their own community. So that was pre-pandemic. So the challenges through the pandemic are pretty much the same, but more acute. So financially, there has been no money from the Palestinian Authority since the beginning of this year. And currently, they are owing, in terms of service costs, $1,365,000 US in service costs to the Jerusalem Princess Basma are owed, because they don't have the funds at the moment to honour that contract, sadly. Also, of course, no pilgrims have been visiting, so it's harder to raise money. The 25% share needed as a charity to keep the system going, to continue treating the children. Because when pilgrims come and visit, they see for themselves the message, the hope, the welcome, the difference and the transformation that the treatment and the place and the mission can bring. And you will also probably know that the Diocese of Jerusalem has got many other institutions, 30 institutions, and also across the Holy Land, the Christian population is shrinking, as is the Anglican Episcopal population within our diocese as well. So to sustain all its institutions, education, health, rehabilitation, including Princess Basma Centre, it is an onerous task without the support of people like yourselves. The political challenges are immense. They continue and are even more deep because during lockdown, trying to operate the centre with two governments, so that people travelling from the West Bank when they could, under different lockdown arrangements, to the people in East Jerusalem, different laws, different regimes, made it very complicated for the Palestinian people to know what was open, when it was open, to get permits, came to checkpoints, found they were turned away again. So it's been very erratic, a difficult system to work within a lockdown situation. And also you will have seen the rollout program of the vaccination program in Israel. Sadly, in the West Bank, there is no strategic vaccination program at the moment. Culturally, the difficulties have been even deeper because families who gained some support from maybe local health centres have been cut off from that because of different parts of lockdown over the West Bank, and so isolated families have become more isolated with no access to support mechanisms that they normally would have. So what was our response? So first of all, we contacted a number of parents who were already registered with the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre. The therapists reached out to them, and within a week, they were online, offering online therapy, a range of therapists, social workers, and also to the mothers who were feeling very isolated, trying to work within a COVID situation with children with very profound needs, finding the whole change very problematic, and not having no access to treatment. So this has evolved into a virtual therapy program, where a range of therapists now work virtually online, depending on what devices are available to the Palestinian people, either on phones or borrowed laptops or computers, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, social workers work as a team with this one family and are offered a number of sessions over a month. There's also been strict hygiene protocols introduced back at the centre, and because the Jerusalem Princess Centre was identified very early by both Israel and the Palestine as a key service, it was allowed to remain open after the initial national lockdown. So we reopened in May with new protocols in place. The school was closed intermittently, but pupils still were able to come to their classrooms for therapy one at a time. The residential program continued, but rather than the 24 mothers and children each week, we reduced it to 16 to enable social distancing and proper health protocol. All staff in both the school and in the Child Rehabilitation Centre were offered double vaccination, so that is really good news for the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre and all its staff. The outreach programme also is able to continue. It continued strategically, so it visited towns and villages in the West Bank according to when they were open, because towns were sometimes in lockdown in Bethlehem or wherever the virus was raging. The Palestinian authorities shut down areas of the West Bank, and so our team had to be strategic in reaching different areas when it was safe. Again, referring the most complex cases back to the home base in Jerusalem. They were also able to offer the local clinics who were struggling to stay open advice on infection control and how they could open their doors safely to their mothers and children once again. Okay, so Rachel, if you're able to show the second film, this is a film we made very early in the pandemic. So this was made in April when the centre was pretty much closed, and so we were operating virtually. So it's a 3-minute film clip just to show you what kinds of things we did, but it was done very simply. So you'll see a little bit of how it was last year.
The Jerusalem Princess Basma Center has been treating children with disabilities since 1965. Through wars and times of unrest, our doors have stayed open to vulnerable children and their families, offering a lifeline of support, education, and rehabilitation. We have provided treatment to hundreds of children each year in our Child Rehabilitation Center and integrated children with disabilities in our inclusive school. Currently, 38% of our roll are children with disabilities. We also empowered mothers in the treatment of their children and treated children in the villages and towns across the West Bank through our outreach program until there was COVID-19.
On instruction from authorities, we temporarily closed our doors, but not our services.
In the face of the coronavirus, we are defiantly serving our Palestinian families in new and safe ways. We now provide online therapy and education.
بشكل عام لم يكن من السهل الوصول من الضفة الغربية إلى القدس، وبسبب فيروس كورونا أصبح من الصعب جدا بسبب الإغلاق العام، مما جعلنا كأهل نتخوف على تطور طفلنا وعلاجه. ولكن مؤسسة الأميرة بسمة لم تتوقف واستكملت الجلسات العلاجية عن بعد، مما ساعد على تطور طفلنا وأفادنا كأهل من خلال تتبع الجلسات خطوة بخطوة، وكما أننا نتلقى دعم نفسي وإرشاد.
Our inclusive school provides a new online education and rehabilitation program for our children with autism.
The mothers are our hands and our voice.
في ظل الوضع الراهن وفي بداية تعطيل الدوام في المدارس، كانت لدي مخاوف من كيفية تلقي كريم جلساته العلاجية، وأيضا مخاوف من تراجع مستواه. ولكن مع توفير المدرسة برنامج التعليم عن بعد، استطعنا أن نحافظ على ديمومة برنامجه التعليمي والتأهيلي، وبمتابعة طاقم متعددة التخصصات أتيحت لنا الفرصة لكشف قدرات أبنائنا.
We need your support to continue our online therapy and education to children and support to mothers and parents. We also need support in PPEs, in equipment, and in changes in the infrastructure in order to continue providing services to children and families once they are back to the center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you for remembering us in our mission to serve our Palestinian brothers and sisters, especially at this most troubling of times for us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was our initial response to COVID. And thankfully, again, with everybody's support, the centre has survived and indeed somehow managed to thrive, at least provide support for the most needy of children and their families. And so I'd like to show you some data. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Just checking. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so the top picture I'd like to do a call out for, or a shout out, because that you can see Nadine and her father. It's the father which actually I want to give a big cheer to, because he was one of the fathers and the families in the virtual therapy program. And if you can see the data here, there were 93 children and their families from the West Bank who completed the virtual therapy program, which was usually on average around 1 month's program, often with about 20 plus sessions. And that's the total number of sessions there throughout the year. But Nadine got the pleasure of her father, who created, in his own words, a mini Jerusalem Princess Basma Center in my own yard, so that he followed the home therapy plan with the help of the therapists online, and created various structures, ladders, all kinds of obstacles for the lovely Nadine to manage to complete her program and home therapy plan without visiting the site. She's now back into her care with us, visiting in residence every few months so that she can continue her support. But the good thing that has happened from all of this pandemic is that the wider family is now involved. So dads, fathers, grandfathers are now more involved because they were able to join in the therapy program online, whereas they couldn't get permits to travel to Jerusalem. So that is one of the benefits. The number from 2020 shows that 235 children were admitted from the West Bank for their residential treatment. And as I said with Nadine, in the example of Nadine, a number of these children are admitted, have multiple admissions. So that shows the number of children, but not necessarily the number of admissions. In total, 893 children were assessed through the outreach program in the West Bank, or in clinics across the West Bank, or at the Jerusalem Princess Basma Center clinic. And this is our lovely Dr. Wada here, who is the medical director and goes out on every visit. And the student therapy program, which is for the 107 students we talked about, this child here is one of our students in his school uniform, and he has autism, and so he is working with a therapist here within the school day. So he gets a whole package of treatment, as do the 107 students. So Tom asked me to also talk about the next steps for the centre. So this is what I hope to show you, that the need continues, and it is near now, and it is very intense. After some restructuring, the centre has survived well and has actually compared favourably with previous data from 2019. But it is a smaller staff, a very committed staff, and quite a tired staff. I say that's not the official word, but they're working so hard. They're very committed. So the financial pressures are mounting, and the need is urgent. To sustain the services, we are trying to launch an international campaign. We've called it Creating Lasting Change. Bishop Poole will know about this because he is on the international committee for this campaign, and some of you also are supporting him, I know, so thank you for that. To sustain the services as they are, we need to raise annually 1.5 million Canadian dollars. That's the 25% share every year, just for the service costs. Here in this pie chart, you can see that we've made a good start, so that we've got $390,000, this is in US dollars, towards that. But it does mean we've still got an awful long way to go, which has not been committed. So the brown pie chart includes the Canadian Compass Rose donations and other donations from places like Embrace the Middle East, United Thank Offering, and many other places too. But it does mean that we have to work hard to get this other amount here, and work even harder this year because of the amount that is owed from the Palestinian authorities because of their very challenging financial situation. So that is on top of this, the $1.3 million also owed. These are the four main programs that are appearing in our international campaign. So we talked about them in vague terms, but this is the Child Rehabilitation Programme. So this is the programme for children in the West Bank who can't travel day by day because it's too far and too difficult through the checkpoints. And so they are enrolled with their mothers on a 2-week or 3-week residential program. And this $80, this is US dollars, covers the amount of one therapy, but it also includes the on-costs associated with the medical assessments, the multidisciplinary team, the costs of bed and breakfast and all that entails. The virtual therapy program continues because particularly for those children and families who find it difficult to travel, this has come into its own. Some good news this last week that 4 pupils and children from Gaza have been reached. These are children and families who were once enrolled on our course, but as I explained, have not been granted permission to leave Gaza to continue their treatment. But our therapists have this month reached out to them and they're starting their own virtual therapy program with their families. So that is a real slice of good news for those 4 families. The Mother Empowerment Programme here is not funded at all by anybody, by the Palestinian authorities. This relies solely on giving charity from our international donors. The Student Therapy Programme is the one that is attached to our school, and that allows students a whole package of therapy for an academic year. And so this is the cost broken down here for 1 semester. As well as sustaining the service, we also want to have a vision. So we've also outlined 4 capital costs, which we are ambitiously going to strive for over the next 3 years. For example, the solar panels is one such activity which actually will save us money, which will save an estimated $79,000 US a year if we can implement solar panels. We need a new hydrotherapy pool because it no longer meets the requirements of the Israeli criteria. We hope to extend it at the same time to allow more children to use it, including the school. The mother and child dormitory has been there since 1964, I think, and has not had a facelift since then, so is in serious need of some support to restructure that. And a mobile clinic would help the team even more to reach outlying areas and assess on the job, as it were. So I'd like to end with the voice of a mother and the empowering vision she has for her child. This is a picture of Farah, and she took her first steps last summer in a virtual therapy session, an online session, which the therapist and the mother were delighted about. And it is really fitting that her name, Farah, means joy in Arabic. Because in spite of the many challenges that she and her family face, in the words of her mother, I think she provides joy and hope for her family and for future generations. The last thought in my mind is that my daughter has a disability. I'm a mother empowering my child for a better future. Thank you.